A lot could be said about Davy Crockett. Too much for a devotional with many different stories covering 60 years. But here's a little glimpse into the life of a man who left his mark in American history. This extraordinary man with a coonskin cap and his famous rifle Old Betsy was born in Rogersville, Tennessee on August 17, 1786. By 13, he moved from home to begin to make a living as a wagon driver. Being from poor pioneer stock, boys often left home early. By that time, they could fend fairly well as woodsmen. His reputation around Tennessee spread quite quickly, and by the time in his 20s, he was known as the best bear hunter in Tennessee, once having killed 105 bears in 8 months single-handed. Let me tell you a bear story of Davy Crockett, who said of himself in his typical Crockett humor, "I shave with sheet lightning, eat pickled thunderbolts, and hailstone pills when I feel sort of sick. I pick my teeth with a pitchfork and comb my hair with a rake. I fan myself with hurricanes, wear cast iron buckskin, and drink nothing but creosote. I'm half alligator, half horse, little touch of snapping turtle. My brother's tough. He can whip any man in Tennessee, and I can whip my brother." Yes, Davy had quite a sense of humor and didn't have a stitch of fear in him. Here's that bear story that I promised you. Davy Crockett, who would rather hunt than eat or sleep, kept moving further west across the state of Tennessee. By 1826, he and his family were living in a log cabin not far from the Mississippi River. It was there that Davy Crockett found a good place for hunting bears. "How many'd you get this jam, Davy?" asked one of his neighbors when Davy came home from a long week of hunting. 17 fine bears, Mr. McDaniel," answered Davy. "Sure wish I knew how you did it, Crockett. My wife and I could use some good bear meat. The grease and fur would be mighty useful, too." Crockett said, "Well, I'll give you some of mine, Daniel. Or if you'd like, I'd take you hunting. You can get some for yourself." "That'd be mighty fine, Davy. I reckon my wife would be right down proud of me if I could shoot a bear for her." So it was that McDaniel, Davy Crockett, and Davy's oldest son set out with 8 hunting dogs, horses, guns, and a good supply of ammunition. "I'll take you to Hurricane. You find yourself a bear there, Daniel." Daniel said, "What you mean by the hurricane? I thought that was a big wind." It is. It's a place of fallen trees. You see, there was a mighty big hurricane that went through there years ago. And that's not all. It's also called the Shakes because the ground was shaken up so bad by the earthquake of 1812. It's full of cracks. "Sounds like mighty rough country," McDaniel said. "Why do you want to go there?" "Good place for bars to hide in the winter. The bars move in and the settlers move out. That's about the only place this side of Mississippi that isn't taken up by farms. I sure hope we ain't too late to kill a bear or two. Why, just last week I'd killed 17 there. Now with weather coming on cold, the bears are getting holed up for the winter. But don't you worry a bit. I'll get you a bear if my name ain't Davy Crockett." The pack of dogs had run on ahead trying to pick up the trail of a bear. The 2 men and the boy could hear their yelps and barks in the background. "How you knew they found a bear, Davy?" "Well, I'd reckon you'd know too. You'll hear old Tigger, Brutus, and Carlos singing out in a special way. They'll open up and really holler, and that'll be their way of saying to me, 'Come on, Davy. Come on, we got a bar for you. You just come and finish him off.'" And Davy's son laughed. "And don't you ever try to stop Pop. His dogs go, and they call, and he and old Betsy are always sure to answer." "Well, who's old Betsy? Is that another dog?" Davy rubbed his rifle, and he said, "No, old Betsy's my gun. I can't get along without her." They rode over the fields and through the woods. When they came to a stream, the dogs and horses all walked or either swam across. The day was almost over when they came to a ditch about 6 feet deep. "Looks like the earth split open here." "It has," said Davy. "We're beginning to get to the Shakes now. hurricane's not far ahead." Suddenly, the dogs' voices filled with excitement. "A bear!" cried Davy. "Come on, McDaniel!" They hurried their horses along until they could see the dogs. Sure enough, they had a bear. The big animal stood on its hind legs, its back against the tree, growling, going crazy. Dog after dog would leap at the bear's throat, only to be pushed back by a giant paw. They'd been trained to keep the bear busy until their master could come and finish him off. Men and boys jumped down from their horse. "I'll get him! I'll get him!" cried McDaniel. He was taking careful aim with his rifle. "Look out for my dogs!" cried Davy. "Hold it. I'll call 'em back. Ready now? I'll call the dogs. You instant I call 'em, you fire. You ready?" "Yeah, I's ready. Go ahead, Davy. Call 'em." Davy gave out a sharp whistle. The dogs jumped back. McDaniel's rifle cracked, and the bear came down like a log. "Good shot!" cried Davy. He lowered his rifle, too. He'd been ready to follow McDaniel's shot with one of his old Betsy surefire bear killers if McDaniel had failed. "Now finish him off, Daniel." McDaniel went closer, got another shot, killing the wounded bear. This time, the animal lay still. Davy took out his knife from his belt, and quick as greased lightning, at long practice, he made cuts into the skin of the bear. He set the hide first side down and loaded the best chunks of meat and fat onto the flesh. Then when that was all done, he wrapped the hide around itself, bundling up the meat, and threw it onto a horse that they'd brought along to carry their bears home. McDaniel was pleased with himself. "You think we'll get another bear today, Davy?" "Well, it might be getting mighty late," said Davy. The dogs had rushed back into the woods again, but they found no more bears that day. The three hunters rode off into the darkness and came to a cabin of an old friend. Davy Crockett had friends all over the state of Tennessee, and he was always a welcome visitor. There was many mighty men in the Bible that feared neither lion nor bear. Did you know that David, a shepherd boy, killed bears and lions? Once a bear came bounding out of the brush to eat him for lunch. But David, empowered and protected by God, fought the critter single-handed and killed him. He was probably only 15 or 16 at the time. David had quite an exciting life, from a poor family to a king's palace, all in a lifetime. Oftentimes, Christians are mocked as sour-faced, no-fun religious fanatics. That's not true. Walking with Jesus daily is an adventure in itself. I've had more peace and joy since becoming a Christian than I ever had before being saved. Jesus gives us hope. We not only have hope of an eternal life waiting for us, but we also have a blessed hope here on earth now. We can begin to walk in the newness of life every day. I'm happy now. Heaven's already begun in me. How about you? Take some time out in this devotion to reflect on some of the adventures that you'd been on as a Christian. Well, maybe not quite as wild and exciting as that of Davy Crockett or King David, but I'm sure there are things in your life that has brought you close to Jesus, that's made your stay on earth a life of adventure.